first and foremost, employees want to understand how the change will impact them. They need to understand the rationale for the change so that you can get them aligned to the change. Employees actually want to believe the promise of leadership, as Amy pointed out, that the leaders of the organization will do the right things in the best interests of the employees. Employees want to be asked for their input, and more than just asked, they want to be listened to and heard. And they'll be looking to their leader for support. Obviously, leaders need to be there to enable and support their teams and their individuals through the whole change process. So as we put this into the context of the employee engagement model that Amy shared with you, 3 critical areas: alignment, involvement, and satisfaction. Let's start with alignment. What are the things that you can do day in, day out to drive alignment during the change process? The first thing is communicate, and we heard that just a minute ago. Communicate constantly, in fact. Employees need and want to be informed. They want transparency, they want communication frequently, they want you to eliminate silos, and they would like rumors to be squashed. Simple enough, establish expectations. What do you expect from employees as it relates to managing through the change process? Be clear on what you're looking for. Number 3, answer the what and the why. Employees need to know what is changing, and as Amy said a few minutes ago, what is not. And they want to understand the why all the way through. Drive alignment by asking for support and doing it sincerely. Let employees know that you need help from them and ask those employees to give you that assistance. And last is just the simple issue of being visible. It's important for all leaders. As soon as change initiatives are announced, you need to be seen, you need to be visible daily if possible. You've got to let people approach you with questions, concerns, confusion, whatever. You need to be seen so that you can be helpful. Now moving on to involvement. How do you keep people involved during the change process? Well, encourage feedback and participation. If you're going to encourage feedback and participation, you have to have some courage. Because some of the things you hear, you may not really want to, but it's critically important that you do, and it may ultimately change how you go about your change initiative and how successful it ultimately is. Certainly, you should be asking for input on the how. How many times does it happen when a change, especially directed from the top, starts to ripple down through the organization and the people who are impacted say, no one asked me how it could be done. And so what do? You just end up expanding that group of resistors that's currently sitting at 30% and starting to balloon them up to maybe 50% because you committed the cardinal sin, you didn't involve them or ask how. And don't just ask for opinions, but actually listen. It's important to take action on feedback received and also to explain why certain feedback may not have been actioned. Employees want to know that their opinions are being heard. As leaders, you have to enable and empower people. Where possible, enable your employees to get involved, and most importantly, be very clear on the autonomy you're giving them to act. In a change process, sometimes the rules change. Have you been clear which rules changed? Have you been clear what people's scope change has been? Have you been clear what responsibilities and authorities may have changed? Don't assume it, be clear about it. And the third element of the model is satisfaction. How can you enhance satisfaction? Well, the first thing to do is be prepared for resistance. As the model showed us earlier, 30% of people inside your organization will likely be resistors. So you need to proactively prepare for the concerns that they may have and realize that your 50% of fence sitters are people who can be influenced. If you don't get to them, if you don't understand their needs, concerns, and you don't influence them to become positive about the change, don't worry, your resistors will take care of their attitudes going forward. Adapt to employee needs. It happens quite often that you start a change initiative, but then you need to get input from the employees. When you get it, you have to be prepared to accommodate the individual responses to the change. Help them work through their concerns, and engage employees to support others in the process as well. When you think about the idea of removing barriers, but any change initiative, let's face it, it's not going to go smoothly. Barriers will come up. As the change is implemented, leaders have to help remove barriers for employees. Employees are not authorized enough and empowered enough to do it on their own. During the earlier discussion, there's a comment from one of our guests over here who said that one of the things they did well inside their organization was that the leaders were also role models. That's important. Leaders have to show support for the change and not, as someone else mentioned, not just lip service. They have to be sincerely behind it and really get rid of any risks of an us versus them internal mentality. And the last piece is staying accessible. Change, just by its nature, creates volatility. Being accessible to employees so that you can provide just-in-time support when they need it, how they need it, is critically important to the success of the change initiative.